this morning we're also celebrating the life of singer and actor David Cassidy. The star of the hit series The Partridge Family died Tuesday at the age of 67.
When friends of yours or family members begin to say to you, remember I just told you this 2 days ago, and there is no memory of it, that's when I began to be very concerned.
7 years after his passing, a shocking revelation has come to light. David Cassidy, the teen idol who captured the hearts of millions, left behind a legacy that seemed set in stone. But now, a DNA test has uncovered a secret so unexpected, it could change everything we thought we knew about him. Could this discovery rewrite history? Could the family we believed was his not actually be? Stay with us as we unravel the truth behind the mystery that has stunned fans and shaken the legacy of one of the biggest stars of his time, David Cassidy's rise to stardom. David Cassidy was a well-known American actor and singer who rose to stardom in the 1970s, mainly because of his role as Keith Partridge in the hit television series The Partridge Family. In the show, Keith was the son of Shirley Partridge, a character played by Shirley Jones, who was also Cassidy's stepmother in real life. This role propelled him into the public eye, turning him into a teen idol and a major pop star of that era. Cassidy's early life was quite different from what many would expect. He grew up in West Orange, New Jersey, where he was mainly raised by his grandparents. For a long time, he didn't even know that his parents had separated. After finishing high school, he moved to New York to live with his father and stepmother, which set him on the path to acting and music. His big break came in 1969, when he signed a contract with Universal Studios and landed roles in various television shows. However, everything changed in 1970 when he was cast as Keith Partridge. Almost overnight, he became a teen sensation, with fans all over the world swooning over him. Despite the massive success of The Partridge Family, Cassidy wanted to move beyond his teenage heartthrob image. He worked on building a solo music career, scoring several hits, particularly in the UK and Australia. While his professional life had many high points, his personal life was much more complicated. He was married multiple times, had children from different relationships, and struggled with alcohol addiction. In his later years, he became an advocate for Alzheimer's disease awareness, especially after facing his own health struggles. Even as he dealt with legal troubles and personal setbacks, he remained dedicated to performing until he retired in 2017. His life was a mix of extraordinary fame and deep personal struggles. While the world saw him as a 1970s icon, his real journey was far more complex, marked by fame, heartbreak, and a constant search for reinvention. One of the most intriguing aspects of his story was the tangle of marriages and secret children that added another layer to his already eventful life. Love, loss, and hidden heirs. Shelley Wright, a 44-year-old woman from Naples, Florida, has spent years insisting that she is the secret daughter of David Cassidy, the famous 1970s heartthrob. Now she claims to have solid proof to support her story. Recently, Wright revealed that a DNA test has shown an extremely high likelihood, 99.9999995%, that Cassidy was indeed her biological father. Cassidy, best remembered for playing Keith Partridge on The Partridge Family, passed away in November 2017 at the age of 67 due to organ failure. Throughout his life, he never publicly acknowledged Wright as his daughter. While some might have dismissed her claims in the past, the details of Cassidy's personal life, marked by multiple marriages and various struggles, have made her story more intriguing, drawing attention from many. Cassidy left behind a complicated legacy. His first marriage was to actress Kay Lenz, whom he married in a spontaneous elopement in 1977. Lenz, who later won Emmy Awards for her work, shared that Cassidy's immense fame led to overwhelming fan attention, to the point where she had to hire a bodyguard for protection. Their marriage lasted until 1983. Despite their whirlwind romance, they never had children. Just a year after his first divorce, Cassidy married again in 1984. His second wife was Meryl Tanz, a horse breeder and business partner in the racing industry. Their relationship began in a dramatic fashion. On their first date, Cassidy serenaded her. However, their marriage ended in 1988. After the divorce, Merrill went on to own a lavender farm in California. Like his first marriage, this one also did not produce any children. In 1991, Cassidy tied the knot for the third and final time. His wife, Sue Schifrin, was an actress and songwriter known for her work on Superman and music videos for well-known artists like Meatloaf. The couple had one son together, Bo Devin Cassidy. Sue was 41 when she gave birth to him. Their marriage lasted more than 2 decades, but in 2014 they separated, and their divorce was finalized in 2016. Aside from Bo, Cassidy also had a daughter, actress Katie Cassidy. Although he was her biological father, he admitted in 2017 that he had played little to no role in raising her, stating, "I wasn't her father." Cassidy's personal life was often turbulent, but his legacy wasn't just about his career. It was also about the relationships he had with his children. In 2009, Cassidy and Katie shared a rare glimpse into their father-daughter bond. Their connection was unusual, blurring the lines between a parent-child relationship and a friendship. Since Katie was raised by her mother and stepfather, Cassidy explained that he never had to take on the traditional responsibilities of a parent. Instead, he could be there for her as a supportive presence, without the pressures of discipline or structure. Katie described it as a unique relationship where she could confide in him without fear of judgment. While he was more of a mentor than a traditional father, he still played an important role in her life. Cassidy encouraged her to focus on the craft of acting rather than chasing fame or wealth. He once advised her to accept great roles even if they didn't come with a big paycheck, advice that Katie took to heart early in her career. Despite their bond, Cassidy admitted that he wasn't in regular contact with Katie. While he recognized her talent and spoke about how proud he was of her, he also acknowledged that they had grown apart over the years. He even found it hard to believe that she had already reached her 30s. In his final days, Katie was among the family members who stood by his side in the hospital. After his passing, she honored him with heartfelt words, recognizing both his struggles and the wisdom he had shared with her. After Cassidy's death, surprising details about his estate came to light, particularly concerning his children. His son, Bo, inherited significantly more than originally expected. Initial reports estimated that Cassidy's estate was worth around $150,000 after subtracting debts. However, after clearing those debts, the estate's value rose to approximately $230,000. Additionally, Bo received $450,000 from Cassidy's retirement plan and $1 million from a life insurance policy. Altogether, he inherited about $1.68 million, far more than the initial reports had suggested. On the other hand, Cassidy's daughter Katie was left out of his will entirely. He had previously explained this decision in an interview with People magazine, stating that while he was her biological father, he had not been the one to raise her. Despite this, Katie still mourned his passing alongside the rest of the family. She later spoke about the valuable lessons he had given her, particularly his advice to invest in herself. Cassidy had told her, "Don't ever stop taking classes. That's where you should spend your money." Katie credited this advice with helping her grow both personally and professionally. The fact that Katie, the daughter Cassidy publicly recognized, was excluded from his will has led some to take a closer look at Shelley Wright's claim. It adds another layer of mystery to Cassidy's already complicated family history. Wright's journey to proving her connection to Cassidy began after his passing when a woman contacted her on Facebook with a surprising tip. The woman told her about an unusual item being sold on eBay, a plastic water bottle that Cassidy had allegedly used during a 2015 concert in New Jersey. Determined to find answers, Wright bought the bottle. She then sent a swab from it, along with her own saliva sample, to a DNA testing lab called Identigene. On April 2nd, Wright received the results she had been waiting for. According to the lab report, the DNA test confirmed with near certainty that she was Cassidy's daughter. In interviews, Wright has shared that the revelation brought her a mix of emotions. She insists that she never pursued this to gain money or fame, but simply wanted closure. However, she expressed sadness that Cassidy's other children, Beau and Katie, had refused to accept her as their sibling. Wright has always maintained that she was the result of a brief romance between her mother, Donna Wallace, and Cassidy back in 1973. According to Wright, her mother once confessed that she had slept with Cassidy in a VIP room during a night out in Nashville. At the time, Wallace had been going through a rough patch with her longtime partner, Nashville songwriter James Bohannon. Despite knowing that Cassidy was the real father, Wallace ultimately chose to return to Bohannon and raise Wright as his own daughter. Now, with the DNA evidence in hand, Wright hopes that her truth will finally be acknowledged. Whether or not the Cassidy family will ever accept her claim remains uncertain, but her story has certainly added another twist to the already intricate tale of David Cassidy's personal life. The Cost of Stardom. David Cassidy was just 8 years old when he learned a shocking truth from other kids. His parents had secretly divorced 2 years earlier, something he had never been told. Born in a hospital in New York City, Cassidy was the son of singer and actor Jack Cassidy, whose roots were a mix of Irish and German ancestry. His mother, actress Evelyn Ward, came from a long line of early American settlers with Irish and Swiss heritage. Because both of his parents had busy careers that required frequent travel, Cassidy spent most of his childhood being raised by his grandparents in a modest neighborhood in West Orange, New Jersey. In 1956, when David was 6 years old, his father remarried. Jack Cassidy tied the knot with Shirley Jones, a well-known actress and singer. Their marriage brought 3 new additions to the family: David's half-brothers Sean, Patrick, and Ryan. After struggling academically, Cassidy attended summer school in 1968 and was finally able to earn his high school diploma. At 18, he left his childhood home and moved in with his father and stepmother, settling into their rented house in Irvington, New York. There he shared a home with his 3 younger half-brothers. During this time, Cassidy took on a part-time job working in a mailroom while actively chasing his dream of becoming an actor and musician. His father played an important role in helping him break into the industry, introducing him to Ruth Aarons, who would become his first manager. Aarons, a former table tennis champion, had previously represented both Jack Cassidy and Shirley Jones. She became a key mentor in David's career, even renegotiating his contract for the Partridge Family, ensuring he was fairly compensated for his role. Thanks to Aarons' guidance and Cassidy's undeniable talent, his career took off in a way that no one could have predicted. However, success came with a cost. The immense fame Cassidy achieved brought with it an intense level of public attention, something he had not fully anticipated. By the time he passed away in 2017, it felt like the end of an era for countless fans who had idolized him during his prime. To them, he would always be the young, fresh-faced star with the signature shaggy hair, the one whose posters covered bedroom walls across the world in the 1970s. Even half a century later, Cassidy remains the ultimate symbol of a 70s teen idol. His rise to fame and eventual rebellion against his squeaky-clean image paved the way for many young celebrities who followed in his footsteps. Cassidy's career in entertainment was, in part, helped by the industry connections he had through his family. With his father and stepmother already established in show business, he was able to land early acting roles in popular television series such as Ironside, The FBI, Adam 12, Bonanza, and Medical Center. But everything changed in 1970 when Cassidy was cast as Keith Partridge in a brand new sitcom, The Partridge Family. The show followed the story of a widowed mother and her 5 children, who formed a musical group and traveled the country performing together. The series had a fun and colorful aesthetic, including its now iconic multicolored school bus, and its catchy pop songs embodied the feel-good spirit of the early 70s. With his boyish charm, sweet smile, and shaggy hair, Cassidy quickly became the standout star of the show. His portrayal of Keith Partridge won over audiences, and he was soon adored by millions of young fans worldwide. Although he was only in his early 20s at the time, the attention was overwhelming. Almost overnight, he became a household name, with magazines, TV shows, and newspapers constantly covering his every move. Unlike many actors in musical television shows, Cassidy wasn't just pretending to sing. He actually provided one of the two main singing voices for the Partridge Family, performing alongside his on-screen and real-life stepmother, Shirley Jones. The show's first hit single, I Think I Love You, became an instant classic when it was released in 1970. Decades later, it remains a beloved pop anthem. By 1972, Cassidy had become far more than just a TV star. His fame had grown beyond the Partridge Family, and he was now a successful solo artist, releasing albums, performing in sold-out stadiums, and topping music charts. Although the entire Partridge Family cast gained recognition, including Susan Dey, who played Keith's sister Lori, it was Cassidy who became the biggest sensation. His level of fame was often compared to that of major music icons like Elvis Presley and the Beatles, with fans reaching near hysteria at his concerts. However, as his popularity soared, Cassidy began to feel conflicted about his place in the spotlight. By the early 1970s, he was struggling with the pressures that came with being one of the most recognizable faces in entertainment. In 1972, he shocked fans by appearing fully nude on the cover of Rolling Stone magazine. The interview that accompanied the cover was even more surprising. Cassidy spoke candidly about drinking, drug use, and his desire to leave the Partridge Family behind. His words, along with the bold photos, caused an uproar. Many parents were outraged, and some fans were taken aback. But Cassidy had a purpose. He was tired of the clean-cut teen idol image that had been crafted for him. He wanted to be seen as a real artist and an independent individual, not just the wholesome Keith Partridge. Years later, Cassidy would reflect on that moment, explaining that he had reached a point where he needed to take control of his own narrative. He wanted to be heard, to express himself, and to be recognized for more than just his teen heartthrob status. When the Partridge Family ended in 1974, Cassidy didn't fade into obscurity. He continued making music and exploring different creative opportunities. In 1978, he returned to acting with a guest role on Police Story, a performance that was well received by audiences and critics alike. The positive response led to his own television show, David Cassidy, Man Undercover, in which he played an undercover police officer. Struggles and legacy. Throughout the 1980s and the years that followed, David Cassidy remained active in the entertainment industry, taking on various acting roles in both television and film. He made guest appearances on popular TV shows, including The Love Boat and Malcolm in the Middle, where he played memorable characters that delighted audiences. In addition to television, Cassidy also explored film roles, starring in movies such as Instant Karma and The Spirit of 76, adding more variety to his career. In 2009, he took on a leading role in the sitcom Ruby and the Rockets, a show created by his half-brother Sean Cassidy. The series followed a former teen idol adjusting to life after fame. Despite its unique premise and nostalgic appeal, the show struggled with ratings and was canceled after just 10 episodes. Cassidy's final appearance as an actor came in 2013 when he guest starred on CSI: Crime Scene Investigation. This marked the last time he stepped in front of the camera for a scripted television role. While his music career never quite reached the same level of success as it had in the early 1970s, Cassidy continued to create and perform. He released his final studio album in 2003, marking the end of his journey as a recording artist. Though his later years in the industry were quieter, his legacy as a performer remained strong. As he grew older, David Cassidy encountered several legal difficulties, including multiple arrests for driving under the influence, DUI, and involvement in a hit-and-run incident. These legal troubles resulted in court-ordered rehabilitation, probation, and the suspension of his driver's license. One of his more serious legal battles took place in September 2015 in Fort Lauderdale, Florida. He was charged with leaving the scene of a car accident, driving despite having a suspended license, and operating a vehicle with expired registration tags. These offenses added to his ongoing struggles with the law, further complicating his personal and professional life. Struggle with addiction. This is where his story takes an even more intriguing turn. Between 2010 and 2014, David Cassidy was arrested 3 times for driving under the influence. These incidents led to his admission into a rehabilitation program in 2014. During an interview with Piers Morgan, he openly discussed his struggles, admitting that if he ever returned to drinking, it could ruin him both physically and emotionally. He described feeling an overwhelming sense of relief when he finally accepted that he had a serious addiction. In 2017, after one of his concerts, speculation began to spread about his health, with many assuming that he had been drinking again. Cassidy publicly denied these claims and initially revealed something far more serious. He stated that he had been diagnosed with dementia, a heartbreaking condition that had also affected his mother and grandfather. However, in a shocking revelation shortly before his death, Cassidy admitted that he had lied about having dementia to cover up his ongoing battle with alcohol addiction. He later confessed that his decline in stage performances was not due to an illness, but rather the long-term effects of excessive drinking. Cassidy had previously insisted that his decision to step away from touring was due to dementia, but in reality, he was struggling with the devastating consequences of alcoholism. Feeling frustrated by public speculation about his health, he chose to mislead fans and the media to avoid further scrutiny of his drinking problem. Ultimately, Cassidy's heartbreaking admission shed light on the depth of his struggles, revealing that alcohol addiction, not dementia, had been the true cause of his deteriorating health. Money troubles. Even with the worldwide success of the Partridge Family, David Cassidy struggled with serious financial challenges. He once revealed a shocking truth. While the Partridge Family merchandise generated an estimated $500 million for Sony Pictures Television, his earnings from it amounted to only $115,000. Feeling exploited by the industry, he decided to fight for what he believed was rightfully his. His persistence paid off when he successfully renegotiated his contract with Sony, securing partial ownership of the show. This was an extremely rare achievement for an actor, especially one from a sitcom that had already aired years earlier. Beyond financial frustrations, Cassidy also resented the way teen magazines profited from his image without him receiving a share of the earnings. He felt uncomfortable with the constant media attention, as his face was plastered on covers worldwide while he had no control over how he was portrayed. For a long time, Cassidy had considered walking away from the Partridge Family. He feared that staying in the role of Keith Partridge would trap him, making it impossible for people to see him as anything else. He also believed that the extreme level of fame he had reached was holding him back from growing as a person. Stepping away from the spotlight. In 1974, David Cassidy made a surprising announcement. He was retiring from performing after completing one last concert tour. However, what was meant to be a farewell to his fans took a heartbreaking turn. During one of his shows in London, tragedy struck when a 14-year-old girl named Bernadette Whelan was fatally injured in the crowd. She was crushed in the overwhelming surge of fans and later died from her injuries. Cassidy was devastated by the incident. The loss of a young fan affected him deeply, and he was so shaken that he wanted to cancel the rest of the tour. However, those around him convinced him to continue with the remaining performances. Despite finishing the tour, the tragedy left a lasting mark on him. The weight of what had happened made him reevaluate his career, ultimately reinforcing his decision to step away from the intense spotlight of fame. Even though David Cassidy was one of the biggest stars of the 1970s, his earnings did not reflect his massive popularity. While starring in The Partridge Family, he was paid just $600 per week, a modest sum considering the show's success. From that paycheck, he had to cover the fees of his manager and agents, leaving him with even less. Despite being the lead singer on the show's hit records, Cassidy did not receive any bonuses or royalties from their sales, a situation that frustrated him. When he left the Partridge Family, he hoped to reinvent himself as a serious musician, shifting away from the lighthearted pop sound that had made him famous. He wanted to transition into hard rock, distancing himself from the teen idol image that had defined his early career. However, as he moved in a new direction, his stardom began to wane. By the 1980s, His career had lost much of its earlier momentum. During that decade, he released only 2 albums, shifting his focus primarily to acting roles instead of music. By 2015, Cassidy had settled in Florida, but financial difficulties continued to follow him. Struggling with debts, he was forced to file for bankruptcy, marking a difficult chapter in his later years. Financial ruin. This was an unexpected downfall for a man who had once sold over 25 million records at the height of his fame. As his financial troubles mounted, Cassidy was forced to sell his beloved home in Fort Lauderdale. Losing the house was especially difficult for him, as he considered it his safe haven, a place where he could find peace away from the pressures of his past stardom. His struggles weren't just financial. His personal life was also unraveling. Cassidy had long battled alcohol addiction, and his drinking problem worsened over time. He was arrested multiple times for driving under the influence, adding to his legal and personal troubles. His marriage also suffered under the weight of his addiction. His wife, Sue Schifrin, had supported him for years, but by 2015, she had reached her breaking point. Frustrated with his continued drinking, she filed for divorce, ending their relationship after more than 2 decades together. As both his personal and professional life continued to decline, Cassidy's health also began to fail, marking a difficult and painful chapter in his later years. Tragic death. David Cassidy passed away in 2017 at the age of 67 from liver failure, a condition brought on by years of heavy drinking. Despite his financial struggles in his later years, he managed to leave a sizable inheritance for his son, Beau. When his estate was settled, Beau received more than $1.45 million. However, Cassidy made the surprising decision to exclude his daughter, Katie, from his will. Despite being left out of the inheritance, Katie held no bitterness toward her father. She remained by his side during his final moments, showing that their bond went beyond material things. Cassidy's later years were filled with personal difficulties. He faced multiple arrests for driving under the influence, went through a painful divorce, declared bankruptcy, and continued to struggle with alcohol addiction. Though he publicly claimed to have quit drinking, he made a heartbreaking confession in a documentary filmed shortly before his death. He had never actually stopped. His final words, as revealed by Katie, were deeply reflective. So much wasted time. The truth behind his death. Despite the struggles he faced, David Cassidy passed away peacefully, surrounded by those who cared for him. In a private conversation recorded with A&E producer Serena Weinfeld, Cassidy revealed a truth that contradicted what many had believed. He admitted that he was suffering from liver disease and, despite earlier statements, showed no signs of dementia at that point in his life. He confessed that his condition was not caused by an inherited illness, but was the direct result of years of excessive drinking, what he called complete alcohol poisoning. In a heartbreaking and unexpected moment, Cassidy admitted that he had been dishonest about his sobriety. He had continued drinking up until the final months of his life, using alcohol as a way to escape feelings of sadness and emptiness. His confession came as a shock to the documentary's producers and left his family, including his children, Katie and Beau, devastated. They had believed that he had been committed to a sober life, making the revelation even more painful. However, not everyone was caught off guard by his admission. One of his longtime co-stars, Partridge Family actor Danny Bonaduce, shared his own perspective. Part of being an alcoholic is lying. When you're an addict, you can't be honest with people. You say what you want them to hear. I can't be mad at David for that, but it's still a tragedy. Now that this shocking secret has been revealed, what do you think? Does this discovery change David Cassidy's legacy forever? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss more incredible stories like this. And before you go, check out one of these videos on your screen. You won't believe what we uncovered next.